Yeah. So did you go anywhere for New Year's?
Oh no, man! I stayed in the house, trying to stay away from that craziness. I heard sirens and everything all night long, so I'm like, nah. Plus, I hear all the fireworks and stuff going crazy, and I'm more worried about. I was more worried about somebody getting in. Well, because I've had enough New Year's where you go out, you have no intentions of getting into no problems, and you end up right in the middle of a bunch of problems. So I was like, nah, I'll just take my time, stay home. If they have something good to watch as far as one of these fireworks specials, I might watch them on TV, blow up a bunch of crap and waste money. But besides that, nah, stay in. What about yourself, brother?
Yeah, I mean, just hit a spot. Had a couple drinks, came home, and
Who'd you go with?
that was about it. You know,
You sound. It seems like there's something you're hiding here, something you're holding back, my brother. What is it? That smirk gives you away.
now Marcus, you're a funny dude too, man. That's why you my man. That's why I mess with you.
Mm-hmm. All right. I guess. Yeah. I guess if I remember the other little part that I was gonna write down there, I will remember. If not, you guys bear with me as I look down. Um. I guess I've given a little bit of time. Um. Let some people filter in. Some may, they may not. If you guys catch it a little bit late, oh well, I understand it is right after New Year, so people are probably still kind of in the holiday spirit and not really getting back into their political flow and all the craziness that's going to go on this year in 2021. That said, this is the Political Matrix. I am your host, Young Morpheus, and I'm here with my good brother, Mr. Cy Lawson. Emmanuel is going to be away for this show, but he's with us in spirit. So
What's
we
up,
have
man?
we have a couple of topics that we're going to talk about. We'll kind of skip through them pretty quickly because um, there's a couple of other things we're just kind of move and what mood touches us at the moment, which subjects that we want to dig a little deeper into. But a couple of stories that caught my attention that I felt would be fun and interesting to talk about is Nancy Pelosi, presumptive Speaker of the House, had her house vandalized. Um, that's one of the interesting things I want to talk about. We also saw a report that, let's see, I've seen two different pharmacists. One, they left out samples of the COVID-19 vaccination, about 100 vials, and they were arrested for leaving those out and them going bad. And then there was another pharmacist more recently that they were charged with destroying over 500, was it 300 to 500 samples. And so that's an interesting topic, like to dig a little bit more into. And then we have a couple of other ones that we can go into, but the other main topic I want to talk about is the same old, the rich get richer. Forbes just released that the top 500 wealthiest people in the world at the time when most of the world is actually going deeper and deeper into poverty. These 500 wealthy people are loving it right now financially. So those are the top stories. Chris, what do you think about? Let's talk about the Pelosi thing. What do you think about
Hmm.
that? Had you heard anything about it yet?
I haven't heard anything, but as soon as I saw it, my first question came. The first thing that hit my brain was, don't they have surveillance at
Oh,
her property?
sure they do. I mean,
I would.
they more than likely cover themselves up in some kind of mask or something like that. But um, what I guess the who did it, why they did it. Um, I guess that's a question which a lot of people focus on. But I kind of like the comment which I heard from Misty online. I don't know if you follow her or not, but she goes by Comrade Misty, and
I think so.
she put like, what do you expect? This is kind of a small cost to pay, for her, basically her inaction losing lives. And I say, even that being true, also just her unwillingness to push for anything that can help the average person. Just showing the full corruptness of, just how she's done things throughout the whole time she's been in Washington. I feel like at every single point when there's been any kind of legislation to try to help the smaller average people, she has always found some excuse to not get it done. And everybody always gives her this pass. And you're going to have a certain amount of people who are going to continue to give this pass, and a certain amount of rage and anger, I feel that is going to keep building at the same time. And one thing's going to have to give. She's not going to leave office willingly. So I feel like that anger level without receiving anything is just going to keep increasing.
That story served two purposes. One, to show that the quote unquote left is out of control, right? You can't satisfy them legislatively, and that the only thing they want is anarchy, chaos, and to take full control. And the other thing is to make her look more sympathetic, like, oh, poor Pelosi's being attacked, so let's not be so hard on her. But again, like I say, I be thinking all this shit is staged and it's all theater. I mean, they went so far to put a pig's head on the ground. Like I said, that was a lot of time out there. And this is Speaker of the House. You tell me you don't have alarm systems, you don't have some kind of security, you're a high profile, you're wealthy on top of that. Let's just say she wasn't even a member of the government. Let's just say she was wealthy as she and her husband are. Just that alone would mean that they probably had security. I mean, not necessarily security, but at the very least surveillance. Something to tell you like, yo, somebody's outside your house.
Well, you got to remember that more than likely she's probably wasn't home, and so that gives time for somebody to sit there and mess around. But playing the I don't like the term. I don't want to use the term devil's advocate, but using the term looking at it from the other side, there is a possibility that she could have said, you know what, I'm in the middle of this whole forced to vote thing. It would look a little bit more favorable on my side if I look like I'm being persecuted, and then I come out and I give this message of I'm just trying to do my best, and I know some people are going to be upset, but I have a whole bunch of different people that I have to satisfy, and I'm just being put in a untenable situation, but please just vote me in anyway. And then I'm really fighting for you, even if I'm not actually fighting for you to get it done. I mean, it could be, but part of me feels like even if this is kind of a staged or a fake thing to engender some kind of support or sympathy, how long before these things start happening and it's not, staged, before it gets to and that's what I've said numerous times before. I've said this at this point now almost a year ago, that it's going to get to a point where people are like, okay, fine, you're not going to do anything and I'm not going to get anything from it. Why should I even try to play nice anymore? And most people, if they're not getting what they want, it's easy for them to go to destruction and tear apart, things that are beautiful or awesome. I mean, go back to just the sack of Jerusalem, 70 AD. If you go back to historians and even or biblical sources or even extra biblical sources, all of these things, they all talk about Solomon's kingdom being like the most beautiful, breathtaking thing in the world at that time. And those enemies, they had enough anger and hatred that they were like, you know what, we don't care how beautiful it is, we'll tear the whole damn thing down. And I look at this situation, though different situational context is going on, it's kind of the same kind of similar situation. If somebody has enough anger and rage, it won't matter, in some of these other things. Or when you try to give these excuses, people are not going to be hearing these excuses. And then you have a
Correct.
situation where even if it gets to a point where, okay, now you are actually trying to fight for them, you burned up all that you burned up all that leadway, that now when you don't get it done, even when you are actually trying this time, now you just, you destroyed all your opportunities and all your credibility. What do you think? I mean, I could be beating a dead horse on it, but I think that they're playing a dangerous game by continuously saying, you know what? Yeah, we can let these people, sit out. We can take care of this business, but not that business. We can let you stay out of work. We'll compensate this person for unemployment insurance, but not this person. And how they're kind of picking and choosing with the average person, and corporations, one little whine or complaint, and then what is it? 3 or 4 days later, you're written into the legislation. People are seeing that in a way that I don't feel like they've ever really been seeing it before. And I think that because of situations getting dire, it's going to force action. With what's the old saying? With every action comes a reaction.
An equal opposite reaction.
So at how much is going to happen? How much negativity can be put out by inaction, or some of it by just purposefully just not doing your job or not having the backbone to do your job? At a certain time, you're gonna fire up the mob. And it doesn't even have to be the whole entire mob. You just get a portion of chaos going, and then everybody else, they'll seek that opportunity, just like you had with some of the looting, which the looting during the protest, some of that stuff, granted, was a little stage, and it was set up so that those people could. Those of y'all who don't understand how like insurance works, sometimes if you're a little behind, you might want to let your business be destroyed or wrecked or robbed so that you can make out on the insurance money on the back end. And police departments do that also. That's the reason why you see some of those cop cars, they had no problem wheeling them out into the middle of the street to let them be burned. So, it's a lot going on. There are people who are actually out there looting. There are fake looters. There are fake looting situations. There are cops who are going out there who are busting windows. There are actual, Black Lives Matter people who are busting. So it's all these different angles going on. And I feel like it's all pushing in the same direction towards some kind of physical altercations in various different forms. And I look at, if you start playing with those kind of things, it becomes like a Pandora's box. Once it all lets go, once it lets go, just like any revolution throughout history, it might start off with an intended course, but once you get into that revolution category, everything gets thrown out the window and all organization falls apart. It just becomes a free for all. Everybody do what they want while chaos is going on.
Sticking with going off of what you said, Pelosi, moving on to the next thing was like AOC, right? Her comments. Did you peep her comments too?
Well, I'm not even sure which ones. I've been so exhausted with the whole AOC stuff, and then I saw the back and forth with the whole kind of Jimmy shooting himself in the foot by blasting the people who are pseudo on his side. I felt like it was he had finally kind of got himself to a point where he had most of the I guess the people on the left going with him and in agreements and stuff, but because most of them are a little softer in the belly, that fieriness, just the tonality, probably lost half of the support which he had from some of those people. So it lends more credence to those people who want to attack Jimmy and say it's about he's just trying to harp on AOC to get views and things like that, and it's not coming from a genuine place. So I mean, I think he did himself no justice and kind of helped AOC kind of walk out of that pretzel she had put herself in. So I mean, I still feel the same way about AOC. I feel like she's only gonna fight as much as she's pushed to fight. She's become completely corporate now, so you can't trust anything she's saying. I mean, she's not Pelosi, but I mean,
but that's why I found it.
It's stylistic. When it comes down to it, votes are what matters, and what gets through is what matters. And if you're not getting anything done, you basically are the same as Pelosi. You're the same as all those Democrats at that point.
But that's why when it came to the whole thing with Dore and Pelosi and everybody involved in that, I'm saying she's a first term. I mean, maybe she got elected. Maybe she won her election, this prior election. She's a two-term House member. Mm-hmm. Okay, does she have a lot of support online? Yes. Does her name ring bells, and does it rate and bring ratings? Yes, it does. But in the context of power, she doesn't have that. So them screaming at her really didn't make much sense when you should have really been going at a Pelosi or a Chuck Schumer or, one of the higher members of the party. If you're still interested in Democratic Party politics, that's where your focus should have been. But to put it on a second-term member of the House who's popular online it was a waste of time to me. And I get it. And I get it that, you want to use her because she does have that presence. But again, to what end? To force a vote. Look, force a vote or not, they shouldn't have been voting for Pelosi for leader, period. That's my position. She's had her time there, it's gone. Regardless whether it's Medicare for all we talking about or you want legalized marijuana, whatever it is, Pelosi don't need to be there. She's been there for so long and we're at this stage. So why we don't withhold it for that? Just get rid of her.
I mean, I agree. And the problem is, I feel like they don't have any strategy or direction. And so everybody is just swinging at the fences and throwing everything at the wall and seeing whatever's going to stick. Now, why I was so forceful against AOC in particular is because she literally campaigned saying, I'm going to go in there, I'm going to do this. I don't care about being one term. For me, you can't say that kind of stuff and not stick to it. You can't say that kind of stuff and then start trying to, I need to be this and I need to do that and start walking things back. And then when I know literally some of not Pelosi, but AOC's staff, I remember one of the young men who joined her staff. He was so excited to join her staff. He was an activist and he had pushed for all these different things. And he was part of the whole list of staff which she jettisoned right before she started changing up some of her views and some of her doing. And so for me, I'm watching what she's doing. See, a lot of other politicians, they try to be more vague. They try to lay it out that, I'm going to support you, but they don't lay out how, they don't lay out what they're going to completely stand for or not. AOC was almost a little too blunt on what she planned on doing, so it left her chin wide open for somebody like Jimmy Dore to keep swinging on it. Because you can't go out there and say, I'm going to fight like basically Joan of Arc and then turn into a legislator. That doesn't go together. And if AOC is supposed to be that next generation, that hard charge from the left, and she's already starting to dull down this early, then what does that tell you about the other people if she's considered the one who's supposed to be able to get something done? If the one who says they're going to be able to get something done, that says they're not going to lay down for anything, first thing they do is lay down and don't get anything done, then I mean, how do you fault some of us who feel like it's a lot of hot air? And that's how I look at it. Oh, I see. We got Kelly in the house. How we doing there, Kelly?
What's going on? Happy New Year.
Let's see. It says, I'm sure you're pleased with VP voted. I can't even talk.
Vice President.
Yeah, yeah, that. Vote for NDAA right after introducing the bill. Oh, I gotta. I mean, Kamala just she's everything that I thought she would be. Shitty. I mean, that's it. I mean, I don't know no other way to say it.
Yo, tell him how you really feel, young Morpheus. Tell him, kid.
I mean, and it's kind of funny. We talked about it a little bit on the last show when I was talking about the Kwanzaa thing. And for those who didn't notice, I got a little I guess something to kind of puff my chest out a little bit about. I was going back and forth, and Judge Joe Brown got on and added a couple of little comments in there, and then retweeted me out. So that felt a little good to see, you know, somebody on that stature, you know, tweet me out. I know some of this stuff's kind of controversial to some of you, but I don't give a damn. I used to watch Joe Brown on TV all the time, so it's cool to have him shouting me out. Anyway, we were talking about the whole Kwanzaa thing and that it was created in LA by a criminal, basically, by a not very good person. And then when you start breaking down what actually Kwanzaa is about, you realize that it's kind of a bullshit holiday. It's not real. It's just something that white people think is real because black people have kind of played this little Kwanzaa game. And what I call the Kwanzaa game is with a lot of white people, I'm representing Kwanzaa. So that can be like I'm not dealing with your white Christmas thing. That's kind of the inside joke. But most of those people are not celebrating no damn Kwanzaa and don't know nothing about Kwanzaa, when it started, or what the hell it actually is. I mean, if you did a poll of most black people, I would say, what would you say, Chris? Tell me if I'm wrong in this guess. I would say probably 85% don't know what the hell Kwanzaa is about.
You think it's that low?
I mean, I only knew, the only people who I knew who even somewhat try to do Kwanzaa, it might be a teacher who's just trying to teach kids about Kwanzaa at school. Or you had that one kid that had that real bugged out parent that was like either like super Nation of Islam or
super militant.
Super militant somehow. They're like one of the Black Panthers that got away, and they're trying to, you know, they're trying to bring the movement back. And that's like the only people who really be talking about that stuff. I mean, only like, or else you have these people who like, nah, man, you don't understand. See, we wasn't even really slaves in America. See, you got to understand the real truth behind the truth, which they trying to hide from you. That real truth. And in that real truth, we was really here before everybody. And they didn't lie. We really are the Native Americans. It was just all us. It was all black people. And then they told us that we came over here through slavery, but they didn't really do that. Like, we was already here. And then they just enslaved us. It's like, okay, all right. But you know people like that though. Tell me I'm lying.
No, well, of course. You know, growing up in a big city, you see it all the time. You know what I'm saying? But the vast majority of people, even in the hoods where those guys are set up, like, you know, people just keep it pushing. You know, they go about their business. So yeah. I don't know. I personally don't know any black people who celebrate Kwanzaa. I don't. Not one.
No, I don't. I mean, I know, and between me and Chris, I'm pretty sure we know a lot of black people. A lot of black people. And that's not something that we really, that's not something that's done in the community. And some people can go with the fact of, you know what, Marcus, he kind of talks a little proper, Chris, he talks a little proper. Manuel, so maybe they don't know. Nah, we all grew up
We know.
in or around the hood. So don't think that it's like, oh, well, we grew up around white people, so we don't know.
No.
We don't roll all that back.
No. Yeah, you'd be gravely mistaken if you thought that.
Yeah,
for real.
I mean, I know myself personally. I grew up in mostly heavy gang territories, and so where you have a lot of Crips and Bloods is normally the part of town where most of the black people live, and that's where I grew up. And pretty much every place I lived or went around, I was always right there next to that rough part of town. So I know I know how hoods work in every city near you. So that's no misnomer when I talk about like, yeah, this is not something big in the black community. I mean, I literally got family like all over this damn country, and none of them know people who do Kwanzaa. Yeah, I mean,
No, never. But I want to touch on Kelly's point because she did bring up the NDAA, and when me and you were talking, I forgot. So I'm glad she brought that up because, again, that whole episode just shows just how disingenuous everybody is, right? You hate. Look, Trump did something right for whatever his reasons. Again, broken clock, whatever. He did something right. He vetoed that shit. We didn't need to pass it. I've been screaming about this for a long time. So he vetoes it. Yo, look at the bipartisanship it took. Damn, Samai. Oh wow. Yo, that shit was funny. All right, let me stay focused, right? So, but yeah, so Trump vetoes the NDAA, and in a grand act of bipartisanship, the Democrats and Republicans get together to pass it to make sure that, we can give the next president, the next government, even more power to do whatever it is they want to do in terms of violating our security, privacy, what have you. So that part was, it just, again, goes to show me, not even that. It further proves that relying on these people, Democrat or Republican, to fix any of these issues is not going to work because they set up to screw you over. You know what I'm saying? They are really set up to make sure that you do not oh yeah, he good. Signs. Variant in the building.
Sorry, didn't mean to distract you. Finish your point.
No, you straight. No, it's just, look, they couldn't give anybody any money, but they got together to make sure the military-industrial complex gets their billions, the security state gets their billions, the weapons manufacturers get their billions. Their friends in Saudi Arabia, Israel, and the rest get their billions. But for you, $2,000 checks, not too much. Take this 600 and keep it pushing. Also, too, it's kind of embarrassing to watch all these people begging for money too. Like 600 to, you should be telling the government to reopen. You shouldn't be begging for checks to stay home, right? You should be telling them like, yo, stop this bullshit with this thing you got, and let us get back to work. But clearly, that's not part of the program. But again, you could at least advocate for that as as a citizen. But you're just like, well, give us $2,000, give us $600. You know what I'm saying? And
I mean, well, here's the thing, which I'm trying to think, who was it? I think it was it Mike Pence, or it was one of them dumbass Republicans. I don't know. But anyway, one of them dumbass Republicans was talking about, oh, well, I don't think they need. Oh, it was Bitch McConnell. Yeah, he was talking about, yeah, they don't really need this.
Did you say Bitch McConnell or Mitch?
Yeah,
I was asking a genuine question, but that turned out to be a joke. I'm just saying that was pretty good.
Yeah, that's one of my terms I call him occasionally, because that's what he is. in all honesty. And I look at it like this. You can tell none of them got any hood or gangster in them at all, because I would have probably went to Mitch McConnell off to the side, away from the cameras, caught him in his office, caught him in the, bottom of the Capitol building somewhere. Like, listen here, dude. People in my district are struggling. Now, you could take care of your buddies like you normally do. We all know you a complete, corrupt, sold out piece of shit. We know that's who you are. Everybody knows it. And the only reason why you're still in office is because you gerrymandered your district so crazy that you can never be taken out of office. You can't be taken out of office, but you can get fucked up. Now, I'm willing to go to jail to beat your ass. Now, somebody like him ain't never had hands put on him. I can tell you.
Ever. He never had no smoke. Ever.
Now,
he never been pressed.
Those types of people, they can be intimidated like that. And if you look back through history, I'm trying to remember. I think it was FDR, not FDR. Before FDR. I'm talking about with the New Deal. Not the New Deal, but I'm talking about while we were going through the recession, during the Depression time.
That was FDR, wasn't it?
Okay.
Truman.
Not Truman. Who am I thinking about? Because he literally used to like. Oh no! I'm not even thinking about that time. I'm thinking of Teddy Roosevelt.
Oh, okay.
Teddy Roosevelt used to literally like yoke them up by the collars and like, bam, you gonna vote this shit through. He used to like literally scare them in passing some of these laws, and it's like, you know what? If you don't want to do this right, I will drag you out there on stage with me and point you out that you're the person who's blocking all this shit. See, that's the thing. The mob don't know who these people are. They don't know who Kevin McCarthy is. They don't know who these people are who are sitting there. Yeah, they know Pelosi's name. They know AOC, but they don't know Barbara Lee. They don't know some of these other people. And if you start finding out some of these other people, then you're able to start to increase that pressure on them, because during the early 2000s, just writing shitloads of letters used to make them change. So if you start showing up night after night after night or day after day at their damn offices on a regular basis, that just annoyance alone will make them start doing things different. And I don't think that clicks in most people's head, because they don't realize how insulated these politicians actually live. They live in a point where they don't see none of the shit that's going on. They don't see none of the people who really complain about them. They have people who literally read all their tweets, and so they filter through it for them. Only give them the stuff that flowers their asses, and so they get this very warped perception of themselves. They honestly feel like they're doing a great job most of the time. And so when they get on TV and some of these reporters who don't have that buffer, who getting heated up and like, I guess I got to ask some kind of question, when they ask the lightest criticism, that's why you see Pelosi and those people flip the fuck out on them. Like, who are you talking to? I'm great. Don't you know that? That's what's going on with these politicians, because they're so buffered. And when you physically start showing up at their office, or they start getting phone call after phone call where their lines are completely busy all the time, and their secretaries are taking message after message and having to keep running in their office and, hey, you got another phone call, that's how you get stuff done, believe it or not. That's how it's always been, because it doesn't take much to push these sorry, weak, cowardly representatives to do anything. And here's the thing about it. So what if it's this one bill where one of their donors doesn't get money? They're going to give it back to them 2 bills later. So all's going to be squared over. They'll find a way to get that money back to those donors. You usually
as
have
they
to
always do.
fast. Yeah, stand fast and make sure they give you what you asked for. Oh, what
Uh,
you gonna say?
no, I'm saying it's true. You know, they always gonna get theirs. Somebody in the comment section said racehorse owners' lives matter. You know, I'm assuming that's in response to McConnell living in Kentucky. You know, and speaking of you know, of a higher class of people in terms of finances, they're always going to get theirs on the back end, front end, in the middle. They're always going to get theirs legislatively, especially dealing with a Congress that is comprised or composed of people who come from a much higher tax bracket. Until Congress looks like you and me and like regular, everyday people who work a 9 to 5, right? Maybe then at some point, maybe at that point, you would see legislation that makes sense. But given that they're all bought and paid for, we're not going to see it. But I'm concerned though, if I'm being honest, about um, the shutdowns, the lockdowns, and people begging for money from the government. This just said, so to me, this tells me this is the foundation for UBI. UBI is going to be a thing. It's coming soon, right? Now,
Well, it's funny. It's funny you bring up UBI. I was talking about it earlier with somebody today.
UBI is coming. Now, at this point, I'm guaranteed that it's coming. I don't even think that it's a matter of if, it's just a matter of when. Because through these lockdowns, they're shutting down that whole class of people who had, you know, small or medium-sized businesses.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the ones who are being shut down, locked down, not able to conduct their business in the way they were able to before. They will be the ones super affected by this because they'll have to either go get a job or become super dependent on the government for assistance, whereas they never had to do that before. UBI is going to come in, but that shit going to come with so many strings. You're going to have to walk a certain way, get up at a certain time, go to bed at a certain time. You're not going to be able to say certain things. So I'm concerned that people just think it's good that the government is finally giving you money, but this is not some altruistic thing that they're doing. They're not saying that technology has made life such that we can make yours easier, right? No, it's going to come with strings. You're going to have to perform and do certain things to get it. And I'm largely feeling like that too about Medicare for all as well. I'm for people having health care, not health insurance, but access to health care, right? If you're sick, something wrong with you, you should be able to go to a hospital, a doctor, a clinic, wherever your caregiver is, you should be able to go see them, and you shouldn't walk out of that appointment broke or shortly thereafter. Again, the Medicare for all, now with this corona stuff, the virus, and who knows what's coming down the line, in order to maintain that care, what are you going to have to do?
I feel like I wanted to share this one here because it goes into an interesting story which I caught a hold of. Now, let me pull it up real quick. Can you read the comment, Chris?
Yeah, Kelly says the latest news is that tens of millions of Americans will be behind $5,800 in rent this month if we had UBI.
Yes, the article that I saw about the ultra wealthy. That's why I said that's kind of a good dovetail into that what I wanted to talk about. It said that I was gonna try to pull up the article so that I could pull up some names. Of course, we already know some of the names that will be on that list. Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk on the top 500, wealthiest people. You all know who those people are, plus or minus. But those people, while we have growing inequality and poverty throughout the whole entire, not just United States, across the whole entire world, the poverty rates are going sky high. Granted, we hear about all these stories about these other countries where they're doing this much and 1,000 a week or whatever they're doing, and they're taking care of their people. But there are a lot of countries which are not doing jack shit for their people, and it's getting ugly in some of those.
But that's,
so here is involved included in that also.
you see, that's what I mean. If this was a real pandemic, I feel like they would have helped people, but they know it's bullshit, and they want to psychologically crush people, and it's
Well,
working.
well, you know what, Chris? This is, hey, we're not doing the what I've been thinking right now. We can loosen up with it. We're here with our good friends, our colleagues, so we can speak freely and going into it. We believe that this is intentional. They want people to be out of work, so that they can start putting. Well, they want people to get used to that. Hey, you're going to be out of work, and try to figure out how much they're going to have to deal and pay people to kind of calm the mob down. Because what's coming is automation. Automation is about the go and Andrew Yang. I advise any of you who didn't pay a lot of attention to Andrew Yang to just go back and listen to some of his speeches during the primaries. The man knows what he's talking about. He knows what's coming because he's with the people who are trying to implement it. And he knows the only thing that's been holding them back is certain laws are trying to get through certain phases. And how lobbyists, they'll get with this person and it gets to this phase and that phase. That's the only thing that's really holding all that back. He knows that. He's waiting on it. And the other thing that's been holding it back besides the legislation is having a secure signal that doesn't completely keep breaking down, that's not susceptible to hacking. And they still have that problem a lot with the 4G. With the 5G, what's said is that the 5G is going to be virtually unhackable. It's going to rarely ever go down once it's actually completely implemented and up. And it's going to, some of those automated things that they want to bring online, which are a little bit slower because they don't have the proper bandwidth to be able to do it, are going to be able to be put online with this new 5G because of how much faster it's going to be and how much bandwidth and I guess processing speed. So, article which I talked about, I guess what was it, maybe a year ago or so, where they had the first cross country semi that was completely automated. It went from Jacksonville, Florida, all the way to San Diego and back. And they did that once just to see that they can do it. But once they actually have the 5G online and they feel more comfortable, you're going to see a lot more of that happening. And that's going to lead to trucker strikes and truckers being out of work. It's also going to lead to a lot less Walmart employees because they literally have machines they're working on right now that stock the shelves. So they're going to have night stalkers who are never going to need to take breaks. And they're going to have more automation on the self-checkout lines. I wouldn't be surprised if you see something that's going to be able to take the baskets in and out. You're going to start seeing more and more of this automation and
That's why
people being put out of work.
You brought up Andrew Yang, and I was, you reading my mind, because now I see why he was allowed to not. I see why he ran, because he put out these ideas that he introduced to a lot of people. He introduced the concept of UBI, right, which is not anything new if you've been following this. Other European countries like Canada have been trying this for several years now, experimenting with just giving people payments. Here's the thing.
In
Instead
Africa
of even,
also. I said in Africa also.
Yes, correct. Here's my thing. It's very disingenuous because you could just change the welfare program instead of making all these stipulations that you can only buy this kind of milk or you can only get this and that. They should just did away with all those stipulations, just gave those people the money who could have experimented that way. So, but, that's a thought for another day, sticking with the Yang and, automation and stuff like that. Yang just introduced those concepts to a generation of people who probably weren't paying attention to this stuff before. So they're all under the impression that UBI is something good. It could be. In itself, is that good? As technology makes us have to work less, would it be nice if the government were to subsidize certain parts of our lives? Like, yeah, sure, that'd be good in theory, right? It'd be cool to get extra little check for something. But in this case, that something is going to come at a cost. And what it is totally, I'm not 100% sure yet. But we're going into this automation, so they're fully aware that there's going to be hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of more people who will be out of work over the course of just this decade alone. And under the pandemic, people not wanting to be outside, they're scared, they don't want to get sick. As a business, all right, what do you think? You got to automate your stuff. You have to try to limit the amount of contact you have with people so they don't get sick. Best way, drones work, robots work, all that shit is helpful to that end. So we're just in the perfect mix of shit.
Well, what I feel that it does is by all the lockdowns and by us going through everything set this way, as they start to do more things and get more people into delivery and order in and all these different things like that, and getting used to not being in restaurants and stuff like that, it makes everything more in the lane of shipping, and delivery and drones and all those things like that. And once it gets into that, like I was telling people, some of these corporations, when they realize, oh crap, I don't need to have a whole office full of people and I'm still getting the same production of work done with these people not here. I'm not having to have a building. I'm not having to use utilities. I'm not having to do all of these things, and I'm saving a ton more money. Once that happens, you're not going to have people going back into into those kind of practices anymore. And all of those things have to be factored in. So they're just trying to figure out, like I said before, like you were saying, it's not going to just work out perfectly how it should. This has been talked about and debated. I remember when I was in college, and we would debate like different political theories and perfect utopias from a political standpoint. And we would always come down to, and this has been like not something that we just come up with as students, years ago when I was in college. This is something that's kind of been more of a political thought. As technology increased, that society, especially the society which is doing all this production and having all of these different new inventions, would have an easier life, and there would become more leisure. There would be less hours that we were actually working, and certain things would start to become subsidized from the government for everybody as a whole, because we're having more things be able to handle these things in society, and so we're all supposed to benefit from them. But what's happening instead is only a certain section of people are going to benefit from these things, because we're not giving some kind of subsidy as we're starting to become no longer needed more and more and more, because most of us don't really see it, but we kind of live in a form of a caste system. We're all kind of born at a certain level, and most people don't move outside of that level except for some kind of extenuating circumstances or divine intervention, whereas you might have some kind of ability and somebody discovers you, or you might run into this one person who wants to invest with you. For the most part, most people kind of stay where they are. And those wealthy people, no matter how big of a fuck up most of them can be, they still manage to stay up there. We see it in the movies all the time, that son or daughter who's all coked out and steals from stores, even though they have millions, never get in trouble. And then like the business gets handed all over to them. And then they get even richer, and then sit on their ass at home all day long and have 50 different lawyers and stuff running everything for them.
Look, if you're a Kennedy, you can drunk drive off a bridge, kill a woman, run away from the scene, and then still be reelected to the Senate over and over again, right? So what you're saying is 100% true. And you'll have a whole bunch of Democrats like get upset with you for even talking about that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I love to just bring it up. You don't even have to say Kennedy's for them, because see, most of them, they know politics so well. You could say the incident, and most average people might not know what you're talking about. but it will send them like over the moon. Just say Chappaquiddick.
Chappaquiddick. Yep.
That's all you gotta do is say Chappaquiddick, and they will get furious. I know down there in Florida, it used to be the bumper sticker everywhere. They used to say, "I would rather, what was it? I'd rather go hunting with Dick Cheney than go riding with Ted Kennedy."
Yeah. I know. At least, at least one of those guys walked away after the incident. That poor woman, she lost her life as a result of that incident. And again, his reward for that was to keep going to the Senate over and over again. So,
well,
I'll never.
The fix is in though. We already know that. We're gonna treat our audience like, we're gonna treat our audience like they're more intelligent, like we know they are, than a lot of other shows do. I feel like they talk about some of this stuff, but won't go into some of these other subjects because I guess they don't have their big boy and big girl pants on. So they're not willing to engage, some of these subjects. But you start looking at the ties to all these people. All the damn reporters who give them good press all know each other. They all grew up in the same neighborhoods. They go up babysitting each other. Pelosi is tied to the Kennedys. And not only a Pelosi, what I'm saying is you got to look at all these different ties. For a Bush family, there's somebody who's connected over here to this person. For all of these people are all connected. They all know each other. It's a reason why they only go so far on their criticisms. If I'm sitting in the district and my district is suffering and I care about them, and you don't care because you got Raytheon and Boeing in your district and you're going to keep on siding with them over my people, at a certain point, you would start getting angry and start saying some words or passing what their gentlemanly rules that they have in the Senate and Congress. But you don't see that ever happen because they're all friends with each other. They all know how far to the line that they feel comfortable with going. And if they go past that, then they're going to get a stern talking to or put in their place by each other. I mean, there's certain people who go into certain positions. And if we don't keep our eyes on how these people are all tied and what the hell they're actually doing, then we're going to miss some of the bigger things that are going on. The reason why they were so big on getting that military, that defense bill through, which first time in a long time I can remember Congress overriding the veto for a defense bill. They did, and the reason why is they know we are going to war. It's just a matter of if we're going to see a small war this time, or if we're seeing a bigger war, or if we see a small war that's going to advance into a bigger war. Because right now, what is it? I saw at least 2 or 3 stories which I read about Iran is vowing, not saying we might, they are guaranteeing, promising that they are going to enrich uranium to at least 20% this year. So they're saying, yeah, building up some stuff. And, I look at the track record that's went on with Trump and the bad blood and the knocking off
Soleimani.
the agents, not agents, but what is it? Science. Knocking off Soleimani, knocking off the scientists. That all of these things start to total up, and then they also look at, we got Joe Biden, one of the biggest Zionists and backers of Netanyahu, who's going to let Netanyahu, or if it turns out to be the other psychopath, they're going to let them do whatever the hell they want to, massacre every Palestinian they want to, keep on expanding into Golan Heights and all these other areas, and just keep on until they've eventually taken the whole entire country, and then start expanding past that, because they talked about going past that, and we already know Biden is not going to stop any of that.
Yeah, it's the greater Israel project.
We got to get our weapons going. We got to get our weapons going, because we know we're not going to be able to talk to the U.S. to kind of settle some of this down. Israel's going to have free range to just attack us at will. Yeah,
it's part of that greater Israel project.
I don't see, from Israel's, I mean, from Iran's point of view, Kelly said saber rattling. It's not saber rattling. I think they know what time it is, and they know that this is probably one of the most hawkish regimes against the nation of Iran that they've had since the overthrow of the Shah back in the day. This is going to be probably. I honestly feel like they know that they're by themselves. As far as dealing with, as far as superpowers, they don't have very much control of what's going to happen, and so they're going to lend more likely, I say, to North Korea, to Russia, and to China. And so if Israel decides to do something, don't be surprised if you see Russia retaliate or some other country, and it brings us into a bigger conflict. But I don't know. Those are just my. I mean, what do you think? Am I going too far off, Chris? What's up, brother?
No, I just well, they've been attacking Iran in ways large and small for years. Soleimani was obviously a larger production, but it's consistent with what we've been doing for years. Something will happen before. Yeah, there's a couple things that are going on that, especially on the right. It doesn't show up too much in the Twitter feed too much unless you follow certain people. But like, did you see Lynn Wood, the attorney for Trump, who I think he's an attorney, but did you see him say the other day like something about John Roberts and the other judge, and then he ended his tweet with saying, "We can ask Jeffrey Epstein, he's still alive." I thought that was pretty funny though.
Man, dude, at this point, man, I'm not surprised about it either. I mean, if they told me that Epstein was sitting there on the beach with Tupac and Biggie and Elvis, I'd be like, that sounds about right. I mean, I don't put anything past this government, especially like, here's one thing that I guess I talked about it on my other platform, but there was witnesses that were on the Titanic who said that they heard they heard missiles, like that it was not it wasn't an iceberg that they hit, that it was struck by ammunition. Then you also have the Lusitania. We know the Lusitania was struck by U-boats, but they pretended as if, oh, well, this is a completely, what is it, passenger vessel. This is, don't, no harm, no foul. Why are you attacking us? And so that's what led us into that war. Come to find out, because they just unearthed it not that long ago, that thing was packed to the brim with munitions. And it shouldn't have been a surprise. Reports say that it was sunk in 18 minutes. My job in the military was torpedoes, and a typical torpedo sinking a ship that size, it normally takes about 45 minutes to an hour. Well, and I mean, that's fast, believe it or not, for a ship that big.
Well, let's remember too, they said they were going to go into Iraq, check, Syria, check, Lebanon, check, Somalia, check, Sudan, they split that up, double check, and the last one left is Iran. So that's where we are. That's where we're getting right now. And whether it's Trump, whether it's right.
I think I should send you this this tweet to share on the screen for everybody. I was like, should I share it or not? You know which one I'm talking about, right? I'm gonna send it to you real quick, and that way he can share with you all on the screen.
It's a fact, son.
Should I send it to your Twitter?
Yeah, do that.
Send it to your Twitter.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just put it in the group chat or something.
Oh, I just sent it in the in your regular one.
All right.
Right up under that. Well, I think I sent it. I don't know where the hell it just went.
I got it. What? That's the one about Tesla?
This is a little bit old. No, not Tesla. Oh, shoot, that was the wrong one. Here.
Yeah, you just sent me that one.
Yeah, that's what I said. I don't know what it just did. Something about Tesla. There it goes. It's right up under the Tesla. And I apologize. The way I snapshotted at the time, it has like all of my notifications going across the top, so it's a lot of crap on there. So, but you all will get the point in what I'm talking about. And yes, Kelly, that is correct. Astor was on the Titanic, and Vanderbilt was on the crap. I can't remember, the Lusitania. Now, I know you can't see the top very clearly, so I will read it out if I can see it myself. It was like before 9/11, only the following nations in the world were left without a, we'll say, Rothschild-owned central bank.
Central Bank.
Afghanistan. Yes, Afghanistan, Iraq, Iran, North Korea, Sudan, Cuba, and Libya. The only countries left without a central bank at this point now, Cuba, North Korea, and Iran. If you notice, they were just talking about making, putting Cuba on some kind of terrorist list. You already know how they feel about North Korea and Iran. So if after they get those last two, then they can start pushing for more of this one world currency. If you haven't seen some of the stuff about Bitcoin's numbers have been going through the roof, and that's something that you all should be a little bit concerned about. There's a video that I wanted to share, but I didn't already have it prepared before the show, so I'll have to add it in later, or maybe I'll do a short little segment. As you all know, I've listened to a bunch of different content also to help with some of my research, and one of the channels which I listen to is Hebrew Israelite, but he does breaking down some of the current events and things that are going on, and he had two good clips that talked about Bitcoin and some of the things which they see happening in the world as far as the currencies going into a one world currency. He also, crap, I wish that I'm just gonna have to make a video for it. I'll have to make a video for it. I'll probably do it tomorrow and hopefully can get it out quickly. If you're not busy, Chris, I might have to borrow you for it. Have a little fun to get it done faster. But in that video, it actually has on the cover a cover of one of I think it's The Economist. It was. Guess what number? Guess how many years ago it was, Chris? That this title said it had the American currency at the bottom on fire, and it had a phoenix, sitting right over the top, and it was talking about a new world currency. How many years ago do you think that magazine article? Huh?
What was the name of the magazine?
No, I'm The Economist.
Oh,
Sign says 38. That's a good guess, but not close, but not quite correct. What do you say, Chris? Come on, or anybody else in the chat, if you got a guess.
Was it the 19? Was it in the 80s?
Was this article published?
Was it in the 80s?
Yes, it was in the 80s.
Yeah.
Nope,
I think,
not 52. It was in the 80s.
what was it? So 1981?
We ready for this?
Yeah.
Nope. Good guess, but no, not 81. Come on. You gotta think about it. For what do we do? What do we talk about? What is some of the stuff we were talking about earlier in the show? And we kind of forget about it every now and then to bring them up. They're still in the mix. Think about
Who?
it. These people love numbers.
Oh. Okay. I can't think
Illuminati.
about it, but go ahead.
This is the Illuminati. The
Oh,
Illuminati, for their top level. What number is a top level Mason?
33.
That number would be 33. This article came out in the year 1988. If you do the math, that's 33 years.
Yeah, it is.
Now, if you go into that number, you'll start seeing, I'm not even big on all the numerology stuff, but anytime you start seeing 33 in events, you need to start getting nervous. If you have not read it, I advise that you get this. Well, I've read some of it. I don't actually have the book, but I've read some of the book, and I'm going to order it soon. And I advise you all to order this book if you need to look into it. It's called Morals and Dogma by Albert Pike. Now, Chris, you familiar with Albert Pike?
Mm-hmm. A little something. I mean, I keep hearing his name. I haven't
Chris,
really done a
you
deep
familiar
dive,
with?
but I know who he is. But yeah,
Well,
I'm
Albert
familiar
Pike,
with him being a
he was,
Mason and all that.
yes,
Go ahead,
Albert
Marcus.
Pike was a high level. He was a 30. Well, we'll go with 33rd degree level Mason. It's thought that he could have been actually higher because 33rd is just the highest you go as far as the Masonic lodges. But he's into the Knights Templar and some of these other organizations where they got a whole nother ladder you start climbing up. Anyway, in his book, he wrote about the 3 world wars that we would have. And he wrote out when they were going to take place, how far apart they were, what they were going to be about. And all of it is lining up with what he said as far as how he views those wars that go. World War I and World War II it's dead on. And I want to say Albert Pike died something like maybe 70 to 100 years before World War One. So how a guy in the civil rights, I mean, not civil rights, but Civil War era was able to figure out what's going to happen in two out of possibly 3 world wars is something that needs to be looked into. I mean, and for those who view our content, these are those kind of things where this is where you got to have a little bit of, you got to have a little bit of understanding of this power and these people's willingness to do whatever they feel like doing within their own hearts. If they decide that, you know what, half of the planet just needs to go because it can't survive, they're going to find secret ways, chemtrails, this and that, abortion to this country, experiments or whatever in certain regions of India. They're going to find ways to start diminishing that population. And it's no different with anything that these crazy ass people come up with. They're going to find a way to manifest it and make it work. And it's the same thing with wars. What is it? The mother of I can't remember which Rothschild was it. The 5 group, or if it was more of the more recent groups. But anyway, they said that her quote was that if my sons didn't want any war in the world, there wouldn't be any. And that's the kind of people that we're dealing with, that they literally a handful of people can decide to make a whole world war. And the proof is in the pudding. Albert Pike was talking about it, explaining the wars out. And then if you go into people like Benjamin Harrison, or not Benjamin Harrison, Benjamin Friedman. Yeah, Benjamin Friedman. Look up the name, look up the speech, or just look his name up and then tie in Balfour Declaration. And it'll give you what you need to know. I guess that's about it on the topics that I felt like that I kind of really wanted to get into. I could save some of these topics for tomorrow on the panel, or I don't know. I didn't kind of wait at last minute to organize a panel, so it might just be myself, maybe Chris if he wants to join me. But I might just hop on and just throw out a couple of topics real quick tomorrow on what I've been thinking. You got anything you like to add, Chris?
No, in all seriousness, keep your vitamin D up. In all the reports for the patients who have supposedly died from the coronavirus, one thing that is coming out is that they all have a deficiency in vitamin D. So make sure you do whatever you can to take care of your health. Vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc, all that is good for you. Again, take care of yourself. Try to avoid going into those empty hospitals. And also too, maybe because it's not happening in America, but if you look at what's happening in England with this virus, and maybe it's crazy. Like they had, I saw one video earlier today. They had a gathering, I'm assuming for New Year's or Christmas, maybe one of the two, and there was more than 6 people in the house. The police forced their way in the house to remove people from the house, to remove the excess people from the homes. We're getting there now, so we got to be careful. Also, I wanted to mention for anybody who thinks I'm crazy or just totally out of line, New York has pending legislation. I can't remember the name of the bill. I think it's Assembly Bill 416A or something to that effect. But you can look it up. They're doing their shielding thing. If they think you're sick, if they think you've been around sick people, or they think that you're a carrier, they are going to remove you and place you someplace for an undetermined amount of time at an undetermined location. So I just think it's funny they let prisoners out of jail for corona, but now they're gonna lock you up for having corona. So it perfectly fits in line with how inverted and crazy this place is, right?
Mm-hmm. I figured before we get out of here, Kelly asked that I'd let you answer. Me, I didn't do nothing, Kelly. I don't ever do nothing. I just stay at home.
But so we have that, and then there was one other thing that was on my brain that I was trying to remember for tonight. What was it?
What you got? What you got?
Huh?
So what you got?
No, it was something in relation to it was something in relation to the virus, but I guess the next big date we could look for is January 6th. That's what we got coming. So supposedly something big is happening there.
Well, January 6th isn't that the day of the inauguration?
No, it's supposed to be the 20th.
20th. Well, I tell everybody I don't think we're gonna really have anything that's gonna happen before then. I think that what we have to look forward to is the day after the inauguration. That's when all hell is gonna break loose. Even if something does go down, they're gonna keep it secret. They're gonna keep it quieted down until that time period because they're gonna want Biden's inauguration to go through as kind of smooth as possible. This transition,
exactly,
because if it's chaos going on, it's going to give which it's true that okay, Biden in there doesn't change shit, but it's going to give the impression that we'll see Biden. See, things are already changing. You see how smooth things were with Trump's. You still had all these issues and this and that. So it's all about image, how you can portray that image and make things look regardless of what they really are. You know, that's the reason why I'm like, there's no way nothing's going bad on this thing is gonna go off without a hitch, unless now maybe some goofy shit might happen.
Exactly.
But not anything like a terrorist attack or nothing like that. But damn near the day afterwards, all bets are off. I mean, it's kind of like everybody's just kind of waiting for that time period to you know, and it's kind of like they all kind of have a secret kind of that we don't know of, like unwritten kind of like, okay, yeah, we're all gonna wait till this time period to do some shit. Or they could wait for actual inauguration day and do it then.
Yeah, we're gonna see. I mean, the clamps are coming. You know, because Biden, the only thing he can seem to tweet about is wearing a fucking mask. Right?
Yeah, that's all he wants to talk about is fucking mask. Kamala, well, now we're gonna be the president, so take the shot. That I mean, that's all I hear. It was one other thing. I'm gonna send it over real quick. I wanted to share because I tweeted out before, and I just kind of want to remind the whole audience and crew what we're dealing with these politicians. This is what you have going on, and I don't want anybody to ever forget who they're actually dealing with when we're dealing with these politicians. Yes, one side is over here, and one side is over here, and one uniform looks a little different than the other, but in all actuality, they're wearing the same uniform. Do you got the the picture?
Oh yeah, I just heard it. I just heard it go off. Let me check.
Yes.
Yes. Let me put that on there.
Now you guys will see what I'm talking about. This is the only difference between these two parties. The only difference.
Yeah, they'll put on the kente cloth.
That's the only difference. Oh yeah, by the way, you guys see that at the top, Really Marvelous Comedy. That's my brother. Make sure to check out his stuff, whether you're on Instagram or on Twitter. I'm not sure if he does a lot on Twitter at this point, but that is his Instagram. He's always putting, comedic, political clips and videos on there. So definitely check it out. But this is what we have going on in this country. And you know what? I was gonna start rapping, but I got something I'm gonna go into. I'm gonna hop on my soapbox for a moment. Me and Chris off camera were talking about some of the stuff we deal with people online and just the interactions that we have. And what I wanted to say about those interactions is, Chris is a very, very smart, very put together brother. He knows what he's talking about on things, and he doesn't speak about things unless he's done research and had things to lead him in that direction. I'm the same way. Those who have watched my content for majority of the time I've been doing this, actually doing videos and putting it out, I have always tried to put the most informed take that I could and the most fair take that I could. And things have led me to the conclusions that I'm at by looking at research and mountains of research over and over. I am, not only do I have former military and I've been all over this country and a lot of places all over this world. I have a lot of background and study in various different areas. And when I catch some of these people online, when I'm talking about a certain issue, and they want to talk to me as if they're just talking to some kid who lives in somebody's basement, this is an issue that I see that is going across, the whole thing. And it's because like we showed before, the clan kente cloth versus the regular. The problem that's going on is white people, not everyone, but the overall culture of white America in particular, or not even just white America, just because I get it from Australians, Canadians, Brits also. They, because of what they have learned from their lying and whitewashed history, they assume that, let me just educate this black guy. He's well spoken, but let me straighten him out. Well, here's the thing. Most of these people don't know who the hell they are or where they actually come from to understand, to be able to put me into any kind of place to understand anything. Most people don't understand anything about actual real world history and migration patterns and when people have moved and why certain things are important. I mean, whether we're talking politics, whether we're talking biblical, whatever we're talking about, most people have a very spotty bit of the information, and the rest is being put together with their feelings and emotions. We have been put in a society which is basically say, you know what? The whole world basically only happened from the Renaissance period up to now, and everything that's happened before that basically it doesn't exist. You can make up whatever the hell you want to for that. Well, there is an actual history that led up to the Renaissance, and I understand that history, and through understanding that history, that's why I'm able to see all the crap which these Illuminati fuckers are doing. That's the reason why I'm able to see all the political ties between the Democrats and the Republicans and these high dollar donors. I'm able to understand why you see 110,000 that'll go to, some off the wall ass place like Zanzibar or something. I understand why the money is going to these different places. And when I constantly run into arrogant, cocky white people who want to talk to me like, oh, well, just some little black kid from the hood that doesn't understand anything and I need to educate him. For my white brother and my white sisters out there, can y'all start checking some of these people? Because it's starting to get to the point where it's starting to get infuriating when I have somebody who doesn't even understand that the Middle East is basically North Africa. The Middle East didn't exist until they decided to create the Suez Canal so they could call it something different. Nobody thinks to why that was called different. Another thing which a lot of people, they want to tell me, oh, well, we need to worry about, well, in Ireland, they had this going on, in Poland, this was going on. And most people don't understand, or that I don't feel like they equate what happened with the Native Americans, Latinos, and Black Americans in this country over the past 400, 500 years. I don't think that's at all very, very valued. I mean, I watched a clip about somebody talking about Thanksgiving. Everybody's out there celebrating Thanksgiving, which is the massacre of some of my family members. But if we were to go out there and celebrate 9/11, everybody would consider me a monster. Well, you're celebrating God knows how many, Native Americans being slaughtered, but you don't see the tie. And that's because, and the video I was watching when this was being discussed, it's not that I think that white people don't have emotions or feelings. I think because propaganda has convinced you this thing is okay. Don't worry about it. Don't look any deeper. It's a day off. Everybody's doing it. It's okay. That as a society, we accept these different certain things and we turn these horrible traditions into norms that they never should be. Whereas we look at this other thing as, oh, it's so horrendous, when this other thing was 10 times worse than that. We live in a country where we have white people. It's like, oh, black people, quit complaining. You're not under captivity. You're not struggling. You're not having this. You're not having all that go on. But then we're still saying, you know what? You guys need to make sure that you always feel sorry for what happened to the Ashkenazis over there during the Holocaust. What about our Holocaust? 6 million? Yes, that's sad. That's tragic over, was it like 6, 7 years? But we've had what, hundreds of millions over centuries, and it's just talked about, and everybody knows it, and nobody even cares. And we still, in this day and age, debate whether even some money should be given out to recompense these people. The level of just desensitive, how desensitized I feel is, and the sad part about it is, on the left, the side which is supposed to be the party which understands this, they're just as blind also, and don't realize that, you know what, honestly, more of these black people who are into politics, they're probably smarter than you because they're going through this and feeling it. So listen to them when they're talking about it instead of trying to mock them or demean them. Like, I've had certain people, they'll worry about grammar issues. Oh, well, so what if I type something not entirely correct? I wasn't an English major. I didn't care about being English major. I was a history major. That's what I focused on. And I know history and I understand it. And just because you're a white guy who's had some kind of formal education, stop thinking that these young black and Latino men who you run into, who might not maybe have the best grammar, that they don't understand or don't know anything. And I just feel that there's a lot of that going on. When I start hitting people on certain arguments or whatever, they'll say, "Oh, well, you said we are instead of we're." It, you're arguing about the wrong thing. You're not paying attention to what the hell has went on for all of these things to happen. And when you're the person who was the captive and were the person where it was inflicted on, of course you're paying more attention to what was going on. For a lot of those people, when you're on the other side of it, it's easy for you to be like, well, that's sad what's happened to them, and not want to dig deeper into it. Nobody wants to dig into, they talk about slavery, but nobody wants to ask, why did they decide specifically to go to Africa to get these slaves? Why did they decide to pick slaves from this region and not this region or not that place? I mean, there were places closer they could have went, but these questions are never asked. And when we start bringing up some of these questions, a lot of times we're marginalized. And I tell you this, if you, most of the time you run into a minority who starts speaking on some of these issues, they're already getting outside of their comfort zone, speaking outside of the comforts of I guess, the black or Latino community where they feel safe. Two, if they're challenging you on it, more than likely they do know more than you, and just shut up and listen. Go back and research, and if they're wrong and you need to correct them on something, do it. But quit with the mindset of automatically assuming because you're white, you know more than that black or brown person. I guess I went on my little tangent there. I got that off my chest because it's been bugging me. I keep running into these idiots who think that they know stuff. And I'll ask them something interesting like, do you even know where the name Europe comes from? Well, it's because we were in Europe. Like, Europe comes from an actual person. Her name was Europa, which was a black woman. So Europe is named after a black woman. Africa, well, Africa had its name in a certain region, but it got famous because of a man who took on the name of Africa, Leo Scipius Africanus. So basically, Africa's known for a white man, Europe's known for a black woman, and America is known for a white man also, Amerigo Vespucci. So when you start understanding these things and you start understanding, damn, all of these people, Jamaican, Dominican, Puerto Rican, which means port of riches, when you start realizing what certain people's names mean, you start realizing what's going on with history and where the lies come in. And when you start understanding what the lies are and why they were telling the lies, then bigger mysteries start being unlocked for you if you choose to want to know the truth. Some people choose to only want to know the parts of the truth which are comfortable to them. They don't want to know the full truth. So if you're on a quest for the full truth of what the hell is actually going on and you want to know what these Illuminati assholes are doing to all these people, the only way you're ever going to truly know is you got to embrace the good, the bad, and the ugly. And if it's of your own people, that's the sad thing. A lot of white people don't want to face the facts of, hey, a portion of our people are the worst and most horrible people ever. And they have done some horrible shit. Yes, you might not be connected to it. And I'm not saying you are connected to it, but by not acknowledging it because you're worried about how it ties to you or how it might make you look, you gotta get out of that and realize, hey, that's them. And the only way we get past this is by acknowledging it. It's kind of like if you did something wrong to somebody or your parent said, hey, go and cut the grass. You can't ignore cutting the grass and come in and ask to borrow the car. You got to deal with the cutting the grass issue first, and then we can deal with the car. And that's all it is. I'm not asking for white people to hold out their neck for me to start chopping heads. All I'm saying is just acknowledge the horrors which some of your ancestors done and just what we've done as nations and countries in the moment. We start understanding that, then wounds could start being healed. But as long as there's all these lies sitting out there and some of us have to pretend and accept these lies or else just whatever, I guess I'll just let them keep making that lie and ignore it. It does something to us at the same time, having to not refute these lies. So, if you hear some of your black and brown brothers out there trying to bring out some information and they're getting this flack from people who are so worried about the implications of history and what it could mean about some of their ancestors or even some of their favorite forefathers or leaders, I mean, that's my take is just that we have to get past that and have to start listening to. It's kind of like a man who, he's talked about Joe Biden. Honestly, that's kind of funny. The whole Tara Reade thing. If a woman is coming saying I was abused, listen to that woman. Listen to her story. And as the black and brown people of this nation, we're that abused woman basically. Listen to our stories and quit diminishing or trying to shut us up or ignore it or say, oh, that was a long time ago. Over 70% of the prisons are filled with black and brown, even if you go to a place which is a 90% white area. How is that possible? There's things that we have to start understanding that are happening to certain communities and not happening to other communities. And there's a gazillion issues that are always going on that are important, but some of us got some other issues that we're fighting at the same time also. So I just hope that we all keep that in mind. You said, was I talking about Joe Biden? Not particularly. I'm talking about some of us who feel like they're not necessarily being dismissive towards the atrocities, but they kind of are, but don't realize it. So I'm just saying, I'm not even really for my audience. I guess this is kind of more venting and getting it off my chest. But for those out there are plenty of people who are not understanding those struggles and marginalize it. And if you just had, fathers in the home, then you guys wouldn't have that problem. Why don't we have fathers in the home? These questions are not often asked. Why do we get in these situations? Did black people start having some kind of weapons printing press happening for them to create all these guns in their neighborhood? No. These guns got in the neighborhood somehow. They didn't. I didn't know that coca leaves grew in the ghetto. I didn't know that. I mean, they're getting these drugs from somewhere. They didn't put this stuff in their community. Redlining didn't happen because of black people. I mean, when you go the loan crap that you still deal with to this very day. I can go out there with the greatest credit score, walk into a bank, and it's still not guaranteed I'm going to get that loan. And we got to understand these things are all still going on. It has not went away. We are not a post-racist society. None of that shit. Racism is still going on. It just hides itself a little bit better. I guess I can leave it at that. I don't want to drag this on too much. I could get a little bit more fiery, And in the future, we will be getting more fiery. I'll give you all some of the future plans for the show. That we are going to be eventually moving over to Rockfin. This channel will be moving over to Rockfin. So whenever we feel like we want to talk about some stuff and don't want to have to tiptoe like I still do on this channel often, then we'll be able to let loose a little bit more. And then I am going to be starting another channel soon. You guys are going to see me putting out a lot more content. That one will be speaking more directly on religion and critiquing the Catholic Church and a couple other organizations and churchianity. So I'll be critiquing all that and then going deeper into my own beliefs and prophecies to look into. Nope, not tonight, not tonight. But yeah, with that, because with that other channel, it'll be explaining some things and going into stuff which you will never hear in church, that people who've been going to church 40, 50 years don't even know about. So, as the brothers say out on the street corner, it's a lot of stuff that I'm going to be bringing out. And I hope you all check out some of that information. In all honesty, some of my people out there who are atheists in the audience, I actually invite you to come to that channel and also give your comments and questions. It seems like you guys are a lot more logical than most Christians are, so I can probably have a lot more, get a little bit more further in the dialogue and conversation. So, oh, excuse me, all that carbonation. With that said, oh, wait a minute. Have you seen Eddie Murphy Saturday Night Live but on Mr. White? No, I haven't, but I will go and check that out when I hop off Science. Have you seen it?
No, I haven't. I haven't seen Mr. White, and if I did, it was so long ago. But
yeah, I'll make sure. Oh, it's yeah, Rockfin. Rockfin. What that is Rockfin is it's another viewing platform where it's not censored nearly as much, and you're able to talk about a lot more issues that will automatically get you, that can possibly have your channel taken away or censored and all the crap which they do. Also, you don't have to deal with all the algorithm crap which they do. And then when you're on Rockfin, and you pay for like the smaller package of Rockfin, it lines you up to be able to get all of this other content also. So some of the people who are on it is, more of the like the Nico House type. A lot of those people, Nico House, Ron Placone, they might put some stuff out on YouTube, but they do have Rockfin also. So there's a couple of more content creators which are starting to move over to Rockfin, just because the censoring on YouTube is, it's something that I feel like is getting worse, especially with the way they do these algorithms. I can literally go to somebody's channel and click video after video, and it still throws this off the wall bullshit into my feed, which I don't want to watch. That I've even thumbs down and disliked and unsubscribed and did everything you can, and they still pop these videos up. So on Rockfin, you won't run into that problem. And I believe on Rockfin, there's no commercials or any of that stuff. So and then a lot of your favorite people who they might put something on YouTube, their Patreon stuff, they might just put it on Rockfin also. So that's what we're looking for. Oh, what were you gonna say, Chris?
no. I'm just listening. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's all I was gonna say. So that's what Rockfin is. When we make that switch, I'll make sure that everyone they're aware of it. And then the other religious channel, that one will be on YouTube. I feel like that one's safer. Some of the stuff might get me into some I'll be on the borderline, definitely. So watch that channel while you can. It'll definitely be religion X rated. The Bible is X rated, whether you realize that or not. Most churches don't go into some of the stuff that gets a little deeper, but I will. I'll get into some of the topics that they never talk about that it talks about in there, like regeneration and UFOs and some of the different crazy pagan worship and stuff, and some of the where I feel like they got a lot of superheroes from in the Bible. I'll talk about some of that stuff on that platform. But yes, without further ado, we will wrap this up. Please come and join me for the live stream tomorrow on what I've been thinking. I know if you guys keep asking me questions, I can keep answering all night, and I don't want to keep my brother Chris on here forever. I know on the East Coast it is much later, and I know I'm not sure where all of you are all coming in from, but for those who are not wanting to stay up too terribly late, I will end this and not drag it on too much longer. But that said, this has been the Political Matrix. I am your host, Young Morpheus, with my good brother, Mr. Chris Lawson.
Yes, sir.
You guys have a good one. Thank you again for joining us as always. And we look forward to seeing you every week. And please join us again next week. Also, if you have not tapped the bell to get all our notifications, make sure you have the bell tapped. Sometimes not Twitter, but sometimes YouTube does, unsubscribe you or, doesn't untaps the bell. So make sure you have that done. You all have a good one. Thank you.